Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Noise Need on Twitter. You can find me at CB Caps on Instagram. And the sound effects you've heard come from none other than our man on Brooklyn 1, Agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads.
What's up, everybody? Co-hosting from the Borough of Kings.
This is Brooklyn. Just a kid from Brooklyn.
Yeah. And you can find this here podcast on the Cold Slither Podcast Network, that's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, or say I did it again. I knew it was going to happen at some point. Damn you, Google. Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal of the Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that helps people find our show.
And I say, damn you, Google, again for getting rid of the. Well, stop doing the. You're adding the Chromecast stuff to the list of your pile of things you let go of. Sad. Anyway, that's a whole nother podcast. You can find us recording mostly every Thursday night, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, unless we run a little late, which is most of the time, like tonight, on the YouTube channel of the Kliq Nation. That's youtube.com/the Kliq Nation and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and hit that notification button so you know when we are on live and you can tune in.
Yeah, yo. All right, folks. So, because of the fact that it dropped the day we were recording last week, we did not have a chance to watch Batman Caped Crusader. And we have now rectified we have mostly rectified that.
Right. I mean, it's 10 episodes. It's a lot at once. Let's not. I mean, they're not like hour-long episodes, but still, it's a lot. So it's not easy for us to do in one fell swoop. And Roddykat, can testify to that himself. Mm-hmm. But I myself did finish it. But we agreed to obviously not spoil everything because it's still only a week old. And two, just to give our overall impressions and some thoughts on some of the changes and tweaks that the creative team put in place on this latest reincarnation of Batman in animated form. So I'll start and say that there is definitely strong influence from Batman the Animated Series. Strong influence from the character designs to the backgrounds to some of the tech that's employed here. No blimps, but definitely very strong influences from that. And it should be no surprise that Bruce Timm is part of the creative forces behind, a member of the creative forces behind this show. I will say that there are clear influences from the Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale holiday series, like Long Halloween and whatnot. Also, that I think there is, I guess the one thing that I think is different is that they're obviously looking to change up some characters from how they were initially interpreted in the animated series, and sometimes even going back to the way they were portrayed in the original comic book canon. I can think of one particular character who came off far more, who was portrayed in a far more kind light in the animated series, namely Detective Harvey Bullock.
That was kind.
Right?
Oh, you're talking about in the animated series? Yes.
Right. In the animated series, they were they were more generous to him. And because I
Yes.
know that his original characterization in the comics was a lot closer, I believe, to how it's portrayed here in this Cape Crusader animated series. I believe. I could be mistaken.
I don't know because I thought like Harley Quinn, he was kind of one that came out of this series, but I don't know that for certain. That he or excuse me came out of that series. Excuse me.
Right. I'm almost certain I recognize the Bullock character as being not so warm and fuzzy. Not that he was warm and fuzzy early on in the animated series,
Right.
but he grew to be.
Right. They basically made Bullock in this particular series, Cape Crusader, more like you would think he was in the animated series. And going on that, I will go so far as to say that, and we were talking about this prior to the show, that they have definitely made this show a little bit more grounded than the animated series was, especially with when they intrude a couple of characters, and as Agent 70 said, definitely going back in a couple of cases to comic book roots,
right?
In respects. So in itself, that's great. I think because of the DNA, I am sure there are going to be people that's going to compare this to the animated series. And I don't think that's going to benefit it at all for that. Because yes, while it does share DNA, it is not that, and it's not even a continuation of that. And I don't even think it's a reboot of that. I as I said before the show, I think it's more of an Elseworlds version of the animated series, and I feel like that's probably closer. I don't know. There isn't actually, before you even go any further and think about this, not even think about this, but there is an article in the clickbait section. Actually, I think it's the only one there. That was an interview with Bruce Timm about that situation, and him saying that he basically didn't want to repeat, the animated series and whatnot. So I'm sure that will shed light on his and the crew's thought patterns into going into Cape Crusader. That being said, it's a good show on its own. I think like I said, if you go to compare it to the animated series, you might find it a little lacking. I don't know, like because let's face it, the animated series has got a lot of reference for it for good reasons. So it's kind of hard to compare that to a lot of things around it, before and after it, So, and I know that it could very well get stuck in that if this show could get stuck in that if people, tend to do that. Like I have seen, just like I said last week, I have seen someone say that, hey, it makes them want to go back and watch the animated series before, which in this respect, if and it was positive with the way they said it. At least I know that part, but so that was a statement that could have felt like, hey, is it that bad the way you had to go back to that? We're like, no, it's just good, good because like some of the DNA is there here, but it's just not that situation. Yeah, I'm not sure not what to say to that. There was the beats that it took were great. Like I said, I still have like 2.5 to 3 episodes to kind of go. But I like what they've done so far, and we were talking about before the show what they were heading up for, and you can kind of, as you can kind of see that early on. But I guess that's the kind of thing, like if you didn't know about a certain character and what they end up being, which granted has been portrayed in movies and animated series, and
this is literally your first exposure to all of these characters.
Right.
Go on.
You may or may not know what was coming, but I can't see too many people that is that will affect at this point. But it still could be a thing for somebody. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of it, and I'm looking forward to season 2, which apparently we have some news on later in the show, which is probably not a surprise.
Yep. All right. Sounds good.
Yeah. I don't know. You got anything else going on before we get into books?
No, just I'd love to talk about it more in depth. It's still only a week old.
Right. Yeah.
I did, kind of bump on a couple of the changes in motivation and characterizations of some characters. Namely, and this is not to tell you what the differences are, but namely Barbara Gordon, namely the Penguin.
Yes.
And maybe even a little bit of let's see, maybe a little bit of Harley Quinn, maybe not. I kind of didn't mind that one.
Yeah, I didn't mind any of them, but that one was the most interesting change to me, because at this point we're used to Harley Quinn acting a certain way.
Right.
And that has been toned down here. We can safely say that much.
Right.
And to some pretty good effect here, I think. Anyway, I don't know. There are some people that might disagree with that, but hey, that's your opinion, this is mine. So, but yeah, I was when I got to that point, I was like, okay, I'm down with this version of Harley. Okay. This version of Harley was cool. Like I said, and I didn't mind the other changes that made. It was like, at first I was like, wait, okay, well, it's just surface. I feel like some of those changes were just surface. So, but yeah. Anyway, that is Batman Caped Crusades in season 1 talk. Like I said, we may have another discussion on this at some point later. We're not. I don't see us doing a treasure edition, which we hadn't done one of those in a good long time.
Well, I mean, that was the height of the pandemic. So
well, yeah, but
those are the evergreen episodes,
right?
The treasury editions, yeah, we haven't done that since
Yeah, it's been a while.
Like I don't know what was the last subject that we did? Like was it movie? Must have been.
It was probably In-Game. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was probably around about there, because that's the last one I could think of that would have been one for us to have done. So, I don't know. Maybe one will happen. Like I said, things are things, and people are busy. So, anyway, we're gonna get into the books of the week, starting off with a new number 1, because you knew it was coming. In the onslaught, then that is the
no
X-Men
pun intended.
Yeah, really. That is the X-Men Corner of the Universe, and I'm kind of slightly stalling for time so I can get the so I can get the cover up. Boop. Uncanny X-Men number 1.
Uncanny X-Men number 1 is written by Gail Simone, with art by David Marquez, colors by Matthew Wilson, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. So first up, I definitely agree with the style that David Marquez has chosen to adopt here, because it is his style, but with a very distinct 90s X-Men tone. So that I'm just speaking strictly about the art, and it's fun to see really sharp art on the X-Men again. What I found interesting about the opening several pages is that we've seen the preview. We've seen this preview, and it's kind of out of left field. We don't understand who this character is yet that has taken over the X-Mansion, but we'll find out very soon. But then we jump right into the main members of the X-Men who will populate the pages of this book. And their first kind of adventure deals with something from, believe it or not, Savage Avengers, which made me laugh.
Yes. When I saw the footnote, I was like, I don't remember this. And I was reading that, but okay.
Right. I wanted to ask, and I did not have a chance. And I'm glad that both Roddykat and I read this, because I'm glad that I'm literally asking him now, do you remember this? And basically his answer is no.
Ooh.
And I did not realize that this particular character had, quote unquote, the other eye of Agamotto,
which I suspect is probably going to come back up if, I don't know if they're on the same page, but that should come back up at some point given recent events.
Sure. Within the pages of Blood Hunt and, what was the current run of Doctor Strange. And I say that as a kind of a lead into that that issue, that this month's issue of Doctor Strange.
Mhm.
But with regards to the rest of this issue, there's a couple of sad but also interesting, I guess, character moments in this as we delve into the current state of the X-Men at large, and the X-Men as they're interacting with each other in the wake of the fall of Krakoa. So as a number one issue, it has its strengths, because it definitely gets you caught up on where everyone in this particular title will be, and how they relate to the rest of the mutants, and also leaving us asking for more with a cliffhanger ending. But it seems like there was a lot to this book. There was a lot happening, and I feel like there may have been just a touch too much going on. I know it's extra sized, but it just seemed like there was just a touch, like, I guess Gail Simone, the writer on this book, is going to weave several of these story points in and out of, I guess, the first arc or two. Everything from how Rogue is going to step into a role that she may or may not be all that familiar with, depending on how you read those Avengers Unity teams. The Uncanny Avengers books.
Mhm.
But ultimately, it's Uncanny X-Men. My hope is that it succeeds, and it's off to a decent start. Maybe not the strongest start in my mind, but it's off to a decent start.
I didn't. So yes, I agree with that. Well, to a point, because I don't know. Knowing that it's Gail Simone, and she and at least from the stuff that I've read, like, it's definitely a fun book, absolutely, or it was fun in spots anyway. And I do agree in the fact that, yeah, there is definitely it's packing a lot in it, which, for the reasons that Agent 70 has posited, which is probably the case, and it might even be, some of the stuff might even go farther than the first couple of arcs. Who knows? But it was yeah, it was definitely interesting. I will keep it up with it for at the very least the next few arcs. Like, this is, we said it in the past. It was either it's going to be this book and Adjectiveless X-Men that's going to probably carry the line, and whatever books might might become popular after that, which they are throwing out a lot of
Right.
in the coming
You never
months.
know which book kind of catches fire with the fan base and gain some momentum. It could be the Kate Pride book. It could be the Emma Frost book. We don't know.
Could be Storm, could be Psylocke for some reason. It could be
Right.
who.
No, but I mean,
even
in
knows?
terms of the team books, the
Oh no, I
solo
was just
book
talking about in
obviously
general.
also, right?
Right.
Exactly. The solo books also, I jokingly think about how much I love the Ahmed Black Bolt series.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Yeah, we don't know, but but yeah, Uncanny's off to a start. And actually, I meant to ask her because I went and picked up my books, my physical books today. Um, and I forgot to ask what was what the sales have been like the last couple of days, which I don't know, or at least if my dude had read it, because I know he was interested in this book and in Adjectiveless. He's not really caring too much about the other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. No, I
That's
get it.
coming out. So I was just kind of curious, just get a little lean on that. But yeah, I'm hoping that that other eye gets used in the way that we think it might. Who's to say whether that's the case or not? And whatever's going on with Logan is going to get dealt with in this book, and Rogan Gambit are still still that couple. So,
Right.
which is good,
Right.
because
Ooh, I'm about to make a name for myself here.
of course you had to throw that in there given other recent events.
Right.
And with that, we're going to move on to, I guess, the other group book of the week, which is Avengers number 17.
Avengers number 17 is written by Jed McKay, with art by Valerio Schiti, colors by Brian Valenza, and letters by VC's Corey Petit. So, just as the cover says, not only is Valerio Schiti joining this book on art, but Storm, as it were, is at least offered a spot on the Avengers in this book. But I guess the main point of the story is the Avengers kind of reassessing, what went wrong, how they were able to be taken down by the Twilight Court. That's their name, right?
No, it was the Blood Coven because of the Blood Hunt.
Oh, the Blood Coven.
Yeah. The Twilight Court does because they came up.
Right. Yeah, the city mentioned something about that, right? That's what I was thinking of.
Right.
So yeah, how they were taken down by the Blood Coven, and they were kind of powerless to stop Varney for a long time, and they're just trying to it's a bit of a soul searching, a little bit of a self. I believe the term that the Scarlet Witch uses is self-flagellation.
Mm-hmm.
They're beating themselves up for what they deem to be, failing to stop Varney sooner rather than, ultimately how it happened. And now everything's, the status quo. I kind of got a kick out of Carol giving us all a summary of what actually came out of Blood Hunt, which is that Dr. Doom is the new Sorcerer Supreme. The vampires can walk in the sunlight, and Kid Spider-Man is a vampire.
I mean, let's face it, because after coming out of, we talked about it last week when we came out of Blood Hunt, it was like, wait, right. So it seemed like that's what they were, that they were suggesting was the case coming out of that, and now we have confirmation that was indeed the case.
Yep.
And yeah, she just kind of broke it down just in case you didn't happen to read Blood Hunt number 5 and catch what came out of that. She kind of broke it down, and to be fair, she was kind of right because the Avengers took an L quite early on.
Yeah. Well, they were also the targets. They were basically Varney through Blade looked to take them off the board.
Right. And
very
him
quickly.
And whoever else. Right. But yeah, you're right. I mean, but at the same time, you like, Carolyn, whoever was gonna, getting into their feels about it and whatnot, and which leads to actually the funniest part about it, just because Jed McKay was like, "Hey, don't forget this Kane stuff." By the way, this stuff is still out here. And this was a part
the
of
other
it.
stuff the other storylines that I was pursuing before I decided to throw Blood Hunt into everybody's story, current ongoing story.
Actually, no, that was a part of it, apparently, because the Carol was suggesting that was one of the things that
the
Kang
darkness thing,
right.
Yeah.
So
the endless night or whatever,
right. So it was like, oh, by the way, we're back here now, so we're just gonna keep going, and it keeps going in the proposition of one, which was at first kind of amusing because you wouldn't have thought that the two characters that actually that the character that actually ends up proposing that Storm joins the Avengers be the one to do it. But also, I'm also thinking about the fact that, her and T'Challa's got history, and they are civil.
Would have had, that would not have. Yeah, that would not have played out the way it would have played out. I can say that I wasn't surprised because they're still trying to transform Sam into more like Steve Rogers Captain America, but I insist on making sure that they stay different. But in certain regards, in certain respects, they're trying to at least have Sam be able to graduate to being more of a symbol and being more inspiring and being more more like what Steve brings to the table in certain regards, right? They don't expect him to be like the soldier and tactician, but they do expect him to be inspiring and being a symbol, right? So they have him step up and get into this conversation with Storm about doing more to help and to being being more of a part of, this greater good, like helping the greater good. And part of me was like, well, I guess they'll wait until the next issue to have her respond, or the next several issues to have her respond,
Right.
because I want her to say something like, well, I've been an Avenger.
I mean,
but not on the A team, right?
Right. That's what I was getting at, because I was about to say technically yes, but it's always one of those like side
hustle
kind of. But at the same time, though, hell, at this point, almost everybody in the grandmoms has been an Avenger, which has kind of stuck in my craw for a bunch of years. But Sam took it upon himself actually to be the one to be like, you know what? Nah, we need to, we need to take care of the stuff that we hadn't dealt with, because going back to the fall of Krakoa, we needed to be this and that and other, and we weren't, and that kind of led to, which in the moment makes sense. Like, you know what? Yeah, if you are the Avengers, you're going to be the Avengers for everybody, and so the proposition that actually ended up coming up sounding genuine, as opposed to the fact that we knew that this was going to happen. We knew this was coming up. It was just seeing the way that it did it. But
I
that
mean,
means, what's that?
What it is that, everything is cyclical, because that was the whole point of the Unity Squad, right?
Well, yeah.
So, we're just bringing it into a different light because of what happened with Orcus and Krakoa.
Right.
That's really the thing, but it's not, like you said, a side gig or a side hustle. It's literally the A team.
Right.
So that's the difference.
And it's not like there haven't been mutants on the Avengers before, because
exactly.
So
they're gonna try to bring, especially now that they're gonna give Storm this solo push as a solo character. I see all that, and we've talked about this when we talked about the announcements. How they're going to try to weave that in. That's what I guess the main difference is.
So yeah, so the rest of the books is like, hey, we get some one-on-ones between a couple of different characters, kind of, about recent and past events, and dealing with it. So I do like that part, that they kind of dealt with that part, because it just could have been a very much all right, that happened, so now we're moving on situation, which has happened, in the past. We're like, oh no, that was the thing that happened, but we don't address the fallout from it, and that kind of, we get a little bit more of that in this issue, including a callback to which is going to come up in the next issue to another thing that I totally forgot about, dealing with another group that is kind of Avengers-like, but not really, that had a turn in the Avengers because of, was that during Jason Aaron's run when that happened?
Yeah. Yep.
And
with the squad.
And bringing that back up as a thing that I totally wanted to forget about, actually. Because like, all right, we need to get away from this thing. Not that there wasn't a good story, but it was just like, all right, we're here, we've done this thing, we need to push away from it now. I've seen this.
Right.
Let's go.
I mean, it's interesting because of the whole Heroes Reborn, the remix, right. And that was from, believe it or not, 3 years ago already. But because when I saw the editor's note, I kind of choked when I saw what year it was. Like, it's been how long? I still kind of think fondly back on Hickman's Avengers run, when this particular character was brought in as extra muscle.
Yeah.
And they didn't necessarily reform, but they made him, I believe it was a different version, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not even sure at this point, because we know there have been other members of the Squadron Supreme that definitely have had other versions that have popped in and out, not the quote-unquote the classic ones.
Right, but I think this is like the Heroes Reborn version, as opposed to that one that was running around in the Avengers during the Hickman run. I think
that may be right. I'm not entirely sure at this point. With
it'll be time to consult a wiki at this point for us, but that's it's kind of weird to see the different turns that this character has taken, especially since we cannot recall whether or not this is the same exact version. Right. So, and
we
obviously we're dealing with a character who's always been from a different universe anyway.
Right. which is the thing, because it's like, you know what, they've always, yeah, exactly. So it's always been that. So it's like, whatever.
Right.
Keep on pushing.
So we don't know if this was a Heroes Reborn thing, if they were meant to be like during the Hickman run. I think what it was is he was a refugee from a planet that, or from a reality that was not impinged, but what incur? They had an incursion.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
I think that's how he came to that particular Avengers team. Now that it's starting to come a little bit back to me, I could be wrong. My memory is not what it once was, kids.
Yeah, and we've read a lot and seen a lot, and it's been a while. But also, didn't that version basically,
die? I think.
Yeah, I was about to say, didn't it burn up in the sun, even though it's solar powered? He was solar powered.
I think they found a way to kill off that character, that version of the character.
Right.
I think they did.
And
I don't think it was during the Avengers run proper, but I think they did.
Right, and I'm also weirdly mixing them up with Sentry, which is that realistically is not that hard to do. But know, this character came way first. Right. Anyway, that is Avengers 17. So yeah, this was the big issue for some, and in fact, saw people Tuesday night spoiling. Well, I know some of it probably came from previous pages, but spoiling a couple of pages of it. I'm sitting here like, how do you even get? Well, I know the answer to that. But how did you even get the book that early for you to be on Twitter spoiling it? I'm like, calm down. Right. Let people get it on the goddamn day it comes out. Jesus.
Right.
But yeah, like I said, we might even see some let's say classic form. I don't know if they're trying to put this couple back together again, but they're definitely making them more civil than they have. Not just in just this book, but in one of the characters' solo, an Avengers solo book that is going on. So I'm kind of wondering if they're kind of trying to put them back together in a way. It's kind of curious. But they've always been there for each other, even though when they weren't, well, at some point, when they weren't together again, they were still kind of civil to each other and still, at the very least care for each other. So it was like, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Anyway, that is Avengers number 17. Next book for us is Doctor Strange number 18.
Doctor Strange number 18, which, believe it or not, is the last issue of this volume of Doctor Strange, is written by Jed MacKay with art by Pasquale Ferry, colors by Heather Moore, and letters by VC's Corey Petit. Now, I had forgotten that this run was supposed to come to an end. I think I saw something on social media from Pasquale Ferry saying that this was the last issue. Mm-hmm. And in reading this, we get to the last page and McKay's, doing his thank yous and whatnot. And I'm disappointed that this is the last issue, but I understand. Right? Because ultimately because of the events of Blood Hunt and where they're looking to go from here, I get that they probably need a fresh start with the characters. But this is definitely a case of an issue that is dealing with the immediate ramifications and aftermath of Blood Hunt. And some elements of McKay's ongoing story, which spanned 3 volumes of Doctor Strange, or Doctor Strange and then back to Doctor Strange. No, it was Death of Doctor Strange, and then Doctor Strange.
Right.
Well, basically 3 volumes of Strange, right? And he got to tell the story he wanted to tell and got Strange to this point while also introducing some great characters, some great supporting characters, and really igniting the push for keeping Strange together with Clea, at least for now, right? Hopefully. They do plant some seeds here for that possibly not happening, for that possibly not lasting. But remember, they teased that in the last Doctor Strange movie, so you know what, that might come back, or that might have some staying power for a little while. But bottom line is, we're left with some plot lines tied off and some plot lines left to be developed in the future for Doctor Strange. So that's basically where we are at the end of this issue.
I would not be surprised to hear in the coming week or two that there's going to be another version of Doctor Strange or a new Sorcerer Supreme book. By now, you already know who the Sorcerer Supreme is currently.
We already mentioned it.
Right. So, one way or another. But I wouldn't be surprised if while this is the end of this volume, I doubt this is the end. Well, this is clearly not the end for this character, but I'm kind of wondering if it's kind of one of those, all right, I'm going to stop the point here and then do a Death of not a Death of Doctor Strange, but a Strange, a reboot again.
Because what they're going to do is they're going to have a straight up, maybe not a team up book, but that's essentially what it's going to be with Clea and Strange.
Right.
So, I mean, which is essentially what this volume has been. It's just they need to kind of rejigger the formula a little bit, because they are actually diving back into the lore, back into previous iterations and previous things happening with Doctor Strange. Everything down to the costume and title that he is basically going to go by in the absence of being Sorcerer Supreme.
Right. So, so now that he's not that, they just reboot the title with him, Clea, and I was going to say adjectiveless Doctor Strange, but that's not the case here. But along the lines of, because he doesn't have a station, the station that he once had, that he will probably get again at some point in the near future. At some point in the future, because I can't imagine this Doctor Strange thing standing that long. So yeah. I had a joke in my notes that I want to read real quick before we move on. And I basically said, what does Doctor Strange do when he's no longer the Sorcerer Supreme and has a piece of his soul taken? He internally monologues it. And also the same thing a frog does when it gets hit by lightning. It was stupid, I admit it. But hey, something had me thinking about that old X-Men movie, and I just had to bring it up. Because it finally hit him.
When you say frog hit by lightning, I think of Simonson and Frog Thor.
Oh, of course, right. So, but you're welcome for that. It's out in the world now. And with that, we move on to the next book, which is Spectacular Spider-Man number 6.
Spectacular Spider-Man number 6 is written by Greg Weisman with pencils by Humberto Ramos, inks by Victor Olazaba with Humberto Ramos, colors by Edgar Delgado, and letters by our favorite lettering paisan, VC's Joe Caramagna. So we get Spidey and Miles versus murder bots, but not murder bots, because they apparently are better murder bots.
Apparently.
And what's that?
It's apparently.
Right. And ultimately we do get some more witty banter and Peter and Miles learning to team up. Meanwhile, we get to see where the greater investigation into the disappearances of a lot of the supporting characters, how that, we get to see how that investigation is going. That's pretty much like the other side of the book.
Yeah, we also get the fact that Arcade and Mentallo had been or is being approached by someone else who's been floating around the book that we pretty sure we know who that is, who that actually is, despite despite their familiar guys.
Yeah, but despite their outer appearance.
Right. Well, I use familiar for a couple different reasons, but yes.
Right.
And also Hammerhead makes a new word, apparently.
I mean, if you've watched enough gangster movies, that's basically where his his vocabulary comes from. If I'm not mistaken, I also heard that word in a Bugs Bunny cartoon.
I see. That was where I was thinking. Yes. But and I was expecting it to be called, obviously not a direct call for it, but I was expecting when it was being mentioned right after the fact of being said, I was expecting something like that to be a reference, but it wasn't. So, but yeah, that was fun.
This is obviously set pre-Blood Hunt.
I'm sure. we don't
Right.
necessarily know that, but yeah, that's yeah.
I
yeah.
only say that because I made that joke about Miles now being completely OP because
Yeah, that's fair.
Miles is like, wait, let me get this, and he breaks out the Venom Sting sword, and I'm like, oh, okay, so he's got the extra power. Wait until you bring out the vampire power.
Right. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that's probably the case. So we don't even know, you know, like clearly this is some current time, but we don't. They space these things out all kind of weird. So you never
Right.
really know until. Oh, by the way, hey, this happens after the fact.
Yeah, if I ever get your 10, the next arc might cover that or might incorporate it. So we'll see.
Right. And we got a new player in the game at the end of this, and a new acronym.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
Yeah, basically. So, but it is what it is. So we'll see if anything comes out of that in the next issue. And with that, we got one more book between us, and that is Scarlett, number 3 of 5.
Yes, we are past the midpoint, or roughly at the midpoint, and just past it in this Scarlett miniseries that's written by Kelly Thompson with art by Marco Ferrari, colors by Lee Luffridge, and letters by Russ Wooton. Scarlett is doing her best solo commando thing. It's very compelling. I really like how they portray her. Her motivations obviously are, I guess, unique to this run of Image G.I. Joe books.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I still, like in the back of my mind, I can't help it because, it's the character that was so central to G.I. Joe. And I mentioned this before. There's still no mention, no hint of, like this one basic lead character in G.I. Joe. And it's still fun to see Scarlett be, kind of the center of her story for at least a little while.
Yes, we would hope so in a book called Scarlett that she would be but we know as Angel Saturday kind of alluded, yeah, we know they're leading to that character, which they're doing. I think they're probably doing the best thing for that, because if people are just expecting that character to just show up and be, just take over, that's not good.
And just kill all the Cobras.
If that ends up being the case, yes. And speaking of, hey, we do get a corporate sighting in the at the end of this issue,
right?
Which I believe, outside of the end of Destro number 2, I believe it was, is the only other sighting that we've had mentioned. Even though we didn't get name, we got the name in that book, but we didn't get any other sightings since then of the symbol or any other signs of them outside of the people we know are associated with them or will be associated with them. But yeah, we get the logo shows up at the very least. Where is that going to take things next issue? We'll find out. So, but
tune in next month.
Exactly. But yeah, Scarlett continues to be a good book. I for this book and another book that Kelly Thompson got out this week with some pretty good stuff. So she also, and Scarlett kind of comes across a mini boss stage, which is a something they kind of sort of reference, but not in the same way. Which was like, all right, yeah, we see what you're doing there. That's pretty good. Ooh, that was a typo there. I'll leave that for people to read. So therefore, we're going to push on to rapid fire.
All righty, rapid fire review time, folks.
I ain't got time to bleed.
Got a few books left. First up is Absolute Power number 2 of 4 from DC. It's written by Mark Waid with art by Dan Mora, colors by Alejandro Sanchez, and letters by Ariana Mar. We're at the halfway point folks, of this story, and things are looking not so great for our heroes. Amanda Waller continues to press her advantage, and just when the heroes think they're safe to regroup and plan and strategize for a counterattack, Amanda Waller presses her advantage. Bottom line, though, it's kind of fun to see the heroes of the DC universe get owned or pawned or whatever you want to call it by Amanda Waller. But we also get to see a little bit of a hint of where things will be going in the near future at the very end in a cliffhanger panel at the end of the book. Last but not least for me is Daredevil number 12. It's written by Saladin Ahmed with art by Aaron Cooter, colors by Jesus Bertov, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. So there's some decent books out this week. I liked a lot of what I read, but Daredevil number 12 is a clear pick. I'm saying it now, clear pick for Click of the Week because it's just really, really solid, right? It's it's not necessarily the culmination of this story involving Matt Murdock and the devils that follow him once he leaves hell, or the demons that follow him once he leaves hell. But it's just very well executed. Everything from the story, the pacing, and the art, and how all that fits together, plus the coloring by Jesus Bertov. As the characters are dealing with demonic possession and also just regular old blood, sweat, and tears. So I really like Doctor Strange this week. I'm kind of spoiling my click, obviously, but my click of the week is almost certainly going to be Daredevil number 12 because it's just super solid. Great work on this, and that's it for me.
Alrighty. Well, let me just go ahead and write that down then. So,
Yep.
Yeah. That one. Excuse me. Shout out to Von Gloom in the chat who joined us and has actually a question for you, Agent 7. Actually, it's similar questions that I have asked in the recent past. But first, he says Scarlett deserves to stand on her own feet without being tied to Duke and redacted. True.
Redacted.
Well,
I know.
And Corporal Commander's origins, like we all know, and Corporal Commander's origins are no longer tied to redacted, like in the Marvel series. Yep, this is also true. But the question he asks is the Absolute Power story good? Dan Mora's art is worth the price of admission, but not sure about the story.
The story's meh. Because they're cramming it into 4 issues of the miniseries, but also spreading it out amongst the various titles.
Mm-hmm.
So the story probably only should last for 4 issues, but it's maybe it's just a matter of us being older and more cynical. It's like, oh, I think I understand what they're doing with this. I understand where they're going with this. So it's okay. It's nothing to write home about. It's nothing like, oh, earth-shattering.
Right. And I have been reading a couple of the tie-in books, but I've not read the main story. And it's potentially, it was a potentially interesting story.
Right.
For what's going on. But yeah, like I said, I have not read, being that I had not read it, I don't know certain. And actually, excuse me for a second, because I'm actually really looking for a book that I thought I had. Oh well, I'll just use what I got. Never mind then. So for myself, we're going to go with excuse me for a second. Birds of Prey. That's nowhere near the right one, but we're just gonna use that one anyway. Yeah, Birds of Prey number 12. Let's see. Written by Kelly Thompson, art by Javier Pena, Sophie Campbell and Gavin Guthrie, colors by Jody Belair, and letters by Clayton Cowles. This is a potential click of the week for me because this book continues to be fun. Yes, you did miss the Gail Simone X-Men talk. That was actually the one we did before a couple of issues ago that we talked about. So, but yeah, so we got Chibi Birds of Prey in this particular issue. And as the birds find themselves in another portal, and with another set of circumstances, we have some funny interactions with Barda and some bunnies. And we also get the plan that one of the birds comes across, in addition to the plan that they already have, and they end up finding the person they went in for. So that part is good. So now with just basically all they need to do now is get to the end of this arc and wrap things up. On the outside of that, Constantine calls in the help of that new character from that Spirit World book. If folks in the DC know about that, which I know about the book and I had intended to read it, but I have not read it yet, so I don't know. But I do know that of that character's existence, who might be coming to bear bad news. So, or at least knows that they're not aware of because of what's going on in the portals. But yeah, loving Birds of Prey has been pretty good. Von Gloom says love the chibi art by Campbell in Birds of Prey. Bardo's bunnies sounds like a supermodel that can kick your butt if you're out of line. Hey, that's just Bardo to a T. And someone should open a club called Bardo's Bunnies. I'm pretty sure somebody probably already is working on that one. But my next book is My Adventures with Superman, number 3 of 5, and you can almost hear the theme song going. Well, if you're a fan of that show anyway. And why is it that the book yeah, I pull covers and now I can't find them. And I put them all in one spot, so I should have been able to find them. So that was weird. So that is a weird thing that's going on. Find the cover. So we're just going to move on from there and say that, yes, My Adventures with Superman, number 3 of 5. It's written by Josie Campbell, art by Pablo M. Kohler. Nick Filardi is doing the colors, and Lucas Gattoni is doing the lettering. So this is still the story that is taking place between seasons 1 and 2. It is Christmas time, and the group had planned, some surprise for Clark, who is spending his first Christmas in Metropolis, but Amazo robots and not Cadmus, but Amanda Waller things have happened, especially during this particular issue in itself. So Clark, at the end of last issue, got captured by the military, who is comically way off on Clark's involvement in why the Mazo robot escapes in a last issue. But also that kind of comes back into play because things happen with a confrontation and the folks kind of show up. So yeah, some things kind of happen within that. I know it sounds like I might be spoiling it, but it's still a good read, and it's not necessarily spoiling things because you don't know which way any of that happens. But yeah, still a decent read, and it's got 2 more issues to go, so we're rounding the corner on it. Next up for me is the book that I definitely do have. Something's here.
Supposed to feed them after midnight. It's not midnight yet.
Yeah, I was about to say so that's not the case.
Oh no, you must have got them wet. That's what it is. Okay.
Well, if that was the case, we've been a hell of a lot more trouble. But next book for me is 4, written by David Pepose, or Pepose, my apologies if I butchered the name. Art by Jonathan Lau, colors by Andrew Dahlhaus, and letters by Taylor Esposito. So, yeah, Zorak appears, folks. And if your only exposure to Zorak is Space Ghost Coast to Coast, yeah, this is not that dude. Not only is this not that dude, but apparently he's a threat in this particular version of the universe. As Space Ghost was like, oh shoot, the term Omega level, well, not necessarily Omega level threat, but a mega threat level or something like that comes up when Zorak's name is attached. And he's basically, like I said, a different character than you've seen from Coast to Coast. And Space Ghost goes off to hunt him down. We get a little bit of backstory on the last time he and Zorak meet, in which he doesn't want the kids to be involved. But of course, the kids, but not in the way you normally think in situations like this. It's not a Johnny Quest situation, but kind of is, because when Space Coast kind of goes off to deal with that, the kids kind of get in some trouble of their own. That may or may not have something to do with said villain of the week. So while Space Ghost is off doing what he's doing, but yeah, good book. We see the appearance of the space shuttle, or the space coupe as they call it here, that the kids usually drive around in back in the old cartoons. So the things that you want in Space Ghost lore has continued to be present or coming into play. Last book for myself. I guess that I could throw this in here and say, what? No, we're not doing that. We're doing Thundercats, Chitara, number 2. And I keep wanting to say of something, but this is an ongoing apparently. So that is not the case. But yeah, written by Sue Lee, art by Domenico Carbone, colors by Chiara Di Francia, and letters by Jeff Eckleberry, who does a lot of the Dynamite stuff. So that's not a surprise there. So yeah, we're still dealing with in the past Chitara, and back on Thundera, and the things that she is dealing with, such as visions, and well, for the most part, trying to stop a vision that's going to happen, as we know. But after a mission in some Thundrillium mines, excuse me, because that's a thing that keeps happening. She kind of goes to seek some help with some visions that, as far as she knows, this is falling on deaf ears, but not really. We do get to see some other Thundercats that we haven't seen in this particular book show up. A couple of the OGs and one from later seasons of the Thundercats shows up. So therein lies that. I know Seven is going to read this at some point, so I'm not spoiling too much for him. But yeah, we are still continuing down that road with this book, leading to somewhere, which I'm not going to also mention, because there's a thing on the last page that is sparking some /past/future stuff for the characters. And that, folks, is it for me for books. Kliqs of the week.
Kliqs of the week.
Von Gloom asked, how was the comic book adaptation of My Adventures? I think I probably said before I even saw that. I think I said as much. It's a good read. I think it's fun, and it's written by Josie Campbell, who is the showrunner for the show, so it's going to be in line. If you, and like I said, it is between seasons 1 and 2, so it's not like you're going to be spoiling anything, or as far as we know, spoiling anything from the 2 seasons that are already out there.
Right.
So we already got. I'm assuming that he's sticking to his final answer.
Yeah. And with the exact same rationale, I really like Doctor Strange number 18, but I think Daredevil number 12 takes the cake this week.
Okay, fair enough. For myself, I have. Actually, I didn't say this earlier, but Avengers 17 was a potential click of the week for partially, slightly, if you know me and you you probably know why. Plus, it is the one. It is a big book. Scarlett number 3 was pretty good. Space Ghost was pretty good. Like Agent 7 said earlier, this was a pretty good week for books. Birds of Prey, always fun. Definitely Spectacular, Spider-Man, even Uncanny X-Men, which I know Von Gloom asked about, so you have to go back and see what we said about that. But I'm actually going to go with this the book that I was originally thinking of, and that book is. I don't have the thing for it, so sorry. Birds of Prey number 12. This is not the cover for it, but yeah, I don't know what happened to the cover because I know I pulled it. Oh wait, no, actually I don't think it did because it's the same issue that I was telling Agent 70 about happened with the place where I pulled the covers at, which is weird. So, and I should have looked at that. But regardless, Birds of Prey number 12 for me. Daredevil number. Actually, wait, yeah, Daredevil number 12. So it's just 12 week for both of those. And with that, folks, we go into the news section. But first, an ad read.
Our first ad read of the night is for Funko, Fun at First Sight. It's your home for exclusive collectibles such as their world-famous pop vinyl bobbleheads, apparel including t-shirts, hats, and socks, and brand merchandise such as their custom DIY pop figures, art books, and skateboards. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can enjoy 10% off your entire purchase when shopping at Funko. To place your first order with 10% off and to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us, that's cspn.us, then click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Funko link and place your order. When you get to the checkout, put in the offer code SHOP10 for your 10% off discount. Funko through cspn.us. Do it today. And now we get into the news.
The night news, as we do about this time. Folks, Warner Brothers done it again, doing stupid shit. Say goodbye to Boomerang, the streaming service dedicated to classic cartoons. And I love the article writer's name. His name is Lawrence Bonk. So, which shout out to Bonk, the TurboGrafx game also. But yeah,
No, I was about to say the character on The Wire.
I didn't watch The Wire, so I don't know that. Come on, cartoons here.
I was about to quote him, but it's kind of a R-rated language. Okay, anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, so at this moment, Boomerang is still up. In fact, they're not going to shutter it until September, if I'm not mistaken. If I saw the timeline here, but you will be, if you have access to Max, you will be able to, according to this, Boomerang subscribers will be grandfathered into Max's ad-free tier with no charge to the subscription price until further notice. If you're watching the video version, you can see and or hear the air quotes that the article puts up. So, and I don't know about a dang good deal, but hey, if you got AT&T, you can get you can get Max for free. Well, free as in you're paying for cable, but
Cell service, right?
So, well, for I guess maybe the cell service too, but definitely the like internet service. So yeah, it sucks. And when I first saw this article, I was like, damn, Me TV Tunes is eating their lunch already like that. But no, that's not the case. It's just Warner Brothers doing Zaslav doing what Zaslav things. We think. Yes, as Von Gloom says, Zaslav strikes again. So Actually, was there anything else? Noggin apparently got shut down, but that's because of Paramount. September 30th is the exact date that Boomerang goes off the air for good, which is kind of funny because after I read this, or I was watching some Boomerang late one night, and it's like, dang, some of this stuff is not even on DVD. Like Laugh Olympics, like there's not a good Laugh Olympics set for that, and I love that show. And was watching some Johnny Quest and I think Thundar, but I have Thundar, so that's not whatever. Anyway, next up,
Warner Brothers Discovery is taking a hefty non-cash impairment charge or write-down of $9.1 billion at its networks division to align the book value of its linear television business with the reality of uncertain advertising and sports rights renewals as the NBA is set to move on to Amazon. So, and other broadcast partners. So the blah 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 blah.
pretty much.
So right. Basically, Warner Brothers Discovery is looking to kind of realign what it's actually worth.
Good luck on that one.
Yeah.
It's been fucked this whole time. Yeah, right. How about stop paying Zaslav? You can get some money back. Anyway, does this have anything to do with that last article? That last article, probably not. But just seeing that they're taking an L is somewhat comforting, I guess. I don't know.
Right. There's also a headline that Paramount is doing something different, something similar with like write downs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that article did kind of mention a little bit of it. So,
Right.
My Adventures with Superman, speaking of, season 3 has big plans for Lex Luthor, Slade Wilson. I feel like should be duh at this point, but who's to say what order of things is actually I'll go ahead and put this in here because I know 87 mentioned it earlier. But so yeah, apparently that's pretty much the gist of it. And there was and this is stuff we kind of knew was going to be the case. Like we knew Lex Luthor was going to be on the come up, especially given after the end of this last season, but it was due. So, and we hadn't necessarily gotten, we got a good bit with, Slade Wilson / Deathstroke, which they still have never named, by the way, Deathstroke that I can think of. So, but the quote here is, they both survived General Lane, they both survived Amanda Waller, and now they're out in the private sector trying to make it happen. So who comes out on top when it's two treacherous little traders in business together? I'm really excited to say that, and that's was a quote from Jake Wyatt, one of the showrunners on the show. Next up.
All right, the new animated series Batman Cape Crusader that we spoke about earlier dropped its 10-episode first season this past Thursday on Prime Video to critical acclaim. Amazon has already announced a 2-season series order for Cape Crusader after it was picked up following its cancellation at Max. So now Bruce Timm told The Wrap that they're still working on the scripts and starting to record season 2 for those next 10 episodes, and they've got a long way to go. So it's still going to be a while before we get those next 10.
So, which, again, should have also been, no duh. But, you never know in situations like this. Right. Oh, you know what? The one thing I forgot to ask you earlier. What do you think about Dude's voice? Dude's Batman and Bruce Wayne?
It's okay. It's not as... It doesn't ring the way Kevin Conroy's does.
Right.
It's almost shallow to a certain extent.
Like he's kind of trying to channel Conroy, but not acting like he's trying to channel. Like he's like trying not to directly channel, but he's still kind of. Yeah. It's kind of weird. Like he does an all right job, but it's just like I can't help but like, damn, if this was Conroy, he's basically biting Conroy, which I don't want to say that about Mans because he's his own dude. So Oh no, okay. All of these people, never mind. I thought they were talking about new voices that were going to be in the new season, and not who's already shown up as voices. Next up, 25 years later, Hugh Jackman shares his emotional X-Men reunion with Ki Kwan. I probably butchered that, but I apologize. So I did not remember this. Apparently, Data was in X-Men #1.
I don't remember.
I don't either, because I saw this on Twitter, and I saw the screenshot that was or a screenshot from I guess the Hugh Jackman as Wolverine had him up against a wall or something. But and apparently that was a thing. So like I don't remember that at all.
I don't remember much of that movie, to be perfectly honest, because that was the start of my I don't like these X-Men movies attitude.
Oh wait, okay. So here's the clarification. This is a quote from Hugh Jackman. One of the many cool things about the movie being released is that so many cool things are happening that are making me appreciate the 25 years I've been playing Wolverine. So the other day on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, I guess this is from the Instagram post that this is from, and then in the induction ceremony for Kevin Feige, I saw Ki Kwan. Jackman said in a video he shared on Twitter, and the quote continues, of course, he won an Oscar recently. His story is incredible, and his career is incredible. As we saw each other and embraced, we worked together on X-Men #1. He was in the stunt team at the time working on the movie. Right. So that's why, because the picture I thought was like, I don't remember seeing that from the movie, but the still I saw was, I guess, must have been a shot of that. But first of all, he's incredible, and that team were incredible, and that's really where I learned a lot about action movies and how to do stunts. It was really cool to see him again and to reconnecting. And there's the picture of them together at the Walk of Fame. If you're watching the video version, so yeah, because when I saw that picture, I was like, wait, I don't remember none of that happening at all. But now that clarifies the state of it, so it makes sense. Next up. Which I didn't know he was a stuntman either, or on the stunt team.
Oh, I knew that when he transitioned away from acting because he couldn't, get a gig.
Roles, yeah.
He moved into some stunt work, like stunt coordination and stuff like that. So
gotcha.
Deadpool and Wolverine director Sean Levy shares Emma Corrin's original camera test photos as Cassandra Nova. He shared that online and basically said they never had anyone else they never wanted to choose anybody else. She's the first choice and the only choice.
If they made a Coneheads movie, she would be perfect for it. They would actually have to give her a little bit more which Coneheads was on some channel a few days ago, which is actually kind of funny. But also if they rebooted, well, they did reboot it, but if they did another Star Trek movie and had the character who had a similar head, they would probably try to get her for that. Ilea, that was her name. So from the first movie.
Wait a second.
Who never showed up again, so don't worry about it. Ryan Reynolds tried to get Nicolas Cage to cameo as Ghost Rider in Deadpool and Wolverine. So at this point, you either seen the movie or you've been spoiled, like I have been on Twitter, about some of the mini cameos that has shown up in Deadpool and Wolverine. So there is that. So spoilers, I guess. Whatever. Yeah. But yeah, says when asked if Cage was among those he reached out for to star, Reynolds said yes and added, came to a conversation for sure. Yeah, but no. So there you go. What a shame. Next up.
I guess.
Yeah. What would it add at this point with given the amount that's just shown up in this movie? So anyway.
Right. Let's see. So, just in the same vein, Henry Cavill does make an appearance in Deadpool Wolverine, and he posted an image of it onto Instagram, and the caption read, "To be safe, I shaved the mustache off for this one, just the mustache." So, that's a bit of a dig at the DC stuff that he worked on because the whole mustache thing.
Right. So I gotta catch up on that. Next up, though, Ironheart Star teases Black Panther 2 Fallout, and I'm actually going to take the next one also. But speaking with the official Marvel podcast, of which I still have not heard of, have you listened to any of that yet, Agent 70?
What's that?
The official Marvel podcast?
I have. I'm like a few weeks behind. Like I really haven't. Like with the whatchamacallit, with the San Diego stuff, I didn't need to.
Right.
Go on.
Oh. Actually, just reminded me something I need to put in the clickbait section. But yes, so speaking with the official Marvel podcast, Dominic Thorne, who plays Riri Williams, teased the events the Disney Plus series will chronicle. According to Thorne, the show explored the aftermath of Wakanda Forever and her eponymous character, Riri Williams, doing, quote, self-reflection. I can say that. Quote, I think it's safe to say that the things that happened in Wakanda required a lot of self-reflection. If you start an interspecies war, we might all encourage each other to take a breath. I think we could say that she's not taking that to heart, that she's taking that to heart and considering what it means to show up in the world and space in the way that she does. And I'm going to take this next one. Like I said, some sad news in the fact that Black Panther star Connie Chium is dead at 72. So she played the mining tribe elder Zoravari in Black Panther in the sequel. And she has done many other things outside of that, but that would be the thing that most folks at this point would know her as. She was also apparently in Beyonce's Black is King on Disney Plus. Let's see. She's the fifth of 9 children. She was, trained in nursing. I'm trying to see what she passed as, if they say. It doesn't say, but we got a quote from the family also from about this. So rest in peace to you. Next up.
Disney and Marvel Studios have shaken up the release schedule, and several release dates have changed. Obviously, with the announcements at San Diego Comic-Con, this is reported through the Hollywood Reporter, the unannounced Marvel films, that there are additional unannounced Marvel films that will be released on July 23rd, 2027, and November 5th, 2027. Both of these dates are after the May 7th, 2027 premiere of Avengers Secret Wars, which is slated to wrap up the multiverse saga. So we'll start to see how the MCU goes beyond the multiverse saga, probably during those 2 movies. It's weird that seems a long way away, but it's really not.
At this point, it's closer, yeah. Oh.
Right.
Going back to something I forgot to mention just a second ago, on the, I guess, Wolverine front. So if you know the site, or not site, the YouTube channel Double Toasted, they recently did a review of X-Men Origins Wolverine. That's pretty funny. It is not for little kids, by the way, because they do curse a lot in the thing. But it's for the parts that I saw of it was kind of amusing, because I remember watching X-Men Origins Wolverine and thinking at least a couple of things they brought up. Speaking of, there was a Gambit in there. That was yeah. Anyway, and
I'll make a name for myself over here.
But it's worth a watch. I also played the tie-in game of X-Men Origins Wolverine on my personal Twitch channel, which that was a time. Anyway, back to the news. Disney is increasing prices once again for standalone streaming plans. So the hikes apply to ad-free and ad-supported individual plans for Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus, starting October 17. So the basic plan for Disney Plus will increase from $8 to $10, while the ad-free goes up to $14. Goes from Oh, I was about to say what goes from 14 a month or 140 annually to 16 a month and 160 annually, and Hulu goes up. Let's see, $8 a month or $80 a year to $10 a month and $100 a year, and similar for ESPN Plus because who cares? Somebody care. It's going up from $11 a month to $110 a month. You see the increments that are going. No, excuse me. It was $11 a month. It's going up to $12 a month to $120 annually. There we go. So yeah, that's a whole thing. Yeah. Next up.
So, Disney Plus is set to introduce continuous playlists in U.S. subscription offerings ahead of this price increase, as well as beginning September 4th, ABC News Live and a playlist focused on preschool content will be available to all subscribers. So there'll be 4 additional curated playlists to follow, and they're just trying to make it so that this is quote unquote worth the price increase, but I don't know about that.
Yeah, no. As someone said on Twitter, like these are basically channels,
right?
So that's not, okay. And somebody actually, I think it was the same person, also mentioned like, you know what? If you could make a playlist of the stuff you wanted to do together, like all of the cartoons or all of the say the Marvel movies or the Marvel cartoons, like say if you wanted to do all of the old Spider-Man and the old '90s stuff or something, that'd be cool if they let you do that.
Yep.
Anyways, Transformers G.I. Joe movie isn't exactly a crossover, according to the producer. Transformers 1, I guess. Well, wait. No. Excuse me. Talking to the Transformers 1 producer Lorenzo Di Bonaventure, who's also doing Transformers stuff. I know he's holding on to that license for dear life. He explains to GameSpot that there will be a crossover film, but not in the way we think of what crossover actually entails. The quote, "I think you have to be careful because I think where the danger lies is where you try to fully represent both," which is, because heaven forbid, that would be what people would want. Somebody's going to get a little short shrift here. I'll give you an example. If you think about a lot about our movies, we have this team going out trying to save the day. Is that a team, a couple of Joes? Does that satisfy us all? I don't think that satisfies enough. But this idea of crossover, which I rebel against a little, only in the sense that it seems like it's promising an utter unity between the worlds. Okay. A crossover would do that. An actual crossover. You have the material for anyway. You know what? This I don't. Yeah, I could say things about this dude and choices in the past. So, including this Transformers 1, but we will not. But just know that's the thing, folks. Next up.
In sad news, Patty Yasutake, best known for her roles in Beef and Star Trek The Next Generation, passed away peacefully on August 5th, surrounded by friends and family. After a long battle with cancer, her manager and friend Kyle Fritz told Deadline she was 70. So you'll recognize her from Beef as playing George's mother, Fumi Nakai. But in my mind, as soon as I read this, I was like, oh yeah. She also played Nurse Alyssa Ogawa on Star Trek The Next Generation, a role she later reprised in Star Trek Generations.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely the nurse that is memorable and addressed by name by Dr. who's this?
Crusher,
thank you.
Mm-hmm. You remember her name, but you don't remember the main doctor's name.
Dr. Beverly, that's what I wanted to say. I couldn't remember her last name because I wanted to say Dr. Wesley's mother.
Right. That's funny. But yeah, I also remember Nurse Ogawa fondly. But rest in peace. I was like Beef. I was like, okay, I didn't know she was on Beef. I remember Star Trek.
I don't know if I would have recognized her. That's the thing. I don't remember. I remember lots of that, but I don't remember her specifically.
Right. Yeah, I never watched any of that. So anyway, John Wick 4 sequels in the works, and it's a TV show. And apparently, according to this article, it's called John Wick Under the High Table.
Mm-hmm.
So this is, I guess, a report coming from Deadline. Per deadline, the show, quote, picks up directly after the end of John Wick Chapter 4. John Wick has left the world of the High Table in a tenuous position, and a collection of new characters will look to make a name for themselves, while some of the franchise stalwart characters remain committed to the old world order, end quote. This didn't necessarily have to be a show, but I don't know the status of any of the other shows that I guess the Continental did happen, right?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
But it
You
was
guys,
like it was like a different form than
right. It
what
was a
everyone
prequel kind of situation, also. Yeah, because it was like younger, but before the first movie, well before the first movie situation.
Right.
Which, oh, now did you just told me what you told me before the show? I guess you can watch it if you haven't, because it is on Peacock.
Oh yeah, before the month is out.
Right. Right. So you have that to look forward to in addition to breakdancing tomorrow. But yeah, that's that. Next up.
According to the Hollywood Reporter, Keanu Reeves will take his talents to Broadway for the very first time in a revival of the play Waiting for Godot, with Jamie Lloyd set to direct the play, and Keanu Reeves is joining Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures co-star Alex Winter, who is set to play Vladimir in the classic play, while Reeves reportedly will play Estragon. These are the two main characters in this philosophical play written by Irish playwright Samuel Beckett, which centers around Estragon and Vladimir, who engage in various discussions while waiting for the titular character Godot, who never actually appears.
Pourquoi? I know that's not it, but that's what I'm imagining. I saw this image on Twitter of them two together. And I'm like, oh, another Bill and Ted, even though Waiting for Godot or Godot is right there.
No, it's just like Godot.
Right. But I was like, huh.
Not like Gal Gadot. It's
Sure.
not like Gal Gadot. It's definitely Godot.
Sure. Either way, I was like, that's interesting. I just hope somewhere during the rehearsal, one of them, they break out the Wild Stallions.
I hope so. I hope there's some tribute to it. I really do.
Yeah, this thing is a serious thing, so I doubt that. But I would love.
No, my hope is that they do it like when they do like whatchamacallit, like thanking the audience at the end.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking.
That's when they should do it. They should not do it during the performance of the play, but they should do it when they're thanking the audience, waving. They should, like at least do like an air guitar.
Or at the very least, the first show, and somebody records it.
Yeah,
because I can't imagine them keeping that going. But if they did do it during the course of the play, that'd be some funny shit also. But I know it would never happen. Ed Boon leaks first look, or leaks quotation, look at Katana in Mortal Kombat 2 film. So yeah, I remember seeing this. Ed Boon got out there on Twitter and said he saw an unfinished cut of Mortal Kombat 2. And he says, during the scream that I broke into Todd Garner's phone, found this image from the film and sent it to my phone. I can leak stuff too, thumbs up. And it's just Katana's fan, or Katana's arm with the fan, and thereabout, and a little bit of body, not body, but you know what I'm saying, body level. So yeah, there is that, which means that thing is still a thing and it's still coming at some point. October 24th, 2025. What in the world?
Oh no.
You do the next story. Let me make sure ain't nothing not go crazy.
Is give me 1 second. So, Godzilla -1 is available to stream on Netflix, but we know that won't last forever. So, it was announced this past week that listings for the 4K Steelbook edition, standard 4K edition, Blu-ray and DVD edition went live at various retailers. So you can get it at Walmart and on Amazon as well. Interestingly, I think Roddykat made a note of this. It does not appear at this point that a digital copy comes with the Blu-ray.
Well, the note I had in the thing was that I don't believe that minus color comes with this Steelbook.
Mm.
But
Yeah, I mean,
also-
there are multiple. I just opened it up on help us keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon, and I noticed that they have. Oh, I'm gonna have to take a look at the details, but it looks like the steel book.
Right. I looked at it as well. So
Yeah, they don't have all the details for the steel book.
right. But from what we can see off of that right now, it doesn't appear that minus color is in that. And I also, after seeing this article and looking through said links myself, I went to the Godzilla site, the official Godzilla site, to see if they still had that one on sale, and it is out of stock. So that $165, yeah, that $165 one that does have minus color, that for sure has minus color and -1 in it, is not available. So may have missed out, or we'll have to wait and see. You know, with this particular thing, it looks like the listing's not entirely clear. Neither is this article. I'm not holding it. Plus, it's cheaper, so I'm not holding out the fact that it's going to be with. Because I saw the price of this and it didn't. It doesn't seem likely. Also worth note that the release date for this steelbook is August 1st, 2025, according to this article. So take with that what you will.
Yep.
Next up, though, we get into some anime corner.
Moment.
So I would go ahead and say this now because we talked about this earlier, but I didn't put it in the article. Netflix had a leak, and a lot of their anime stuff got leaked. So I guess go forth, pirates. I don't know. That stuff was gonna get out anyway at some point. Let's fix facts. But to the news, Dragon Ball Daima World Premiere has been announced. Speaking of chibi characters, it's not exactly chibi, but still. It might as well be. The world premiere event will be held in Japan and is titled Dragon Ball Daimatsuri. Taking place October 6th, the invite-only event will air the first episode of the series and is planning to have Son Goku voice actor Masako Nozawa in attendance. On top of the anime's premiere, the event is also planning on featuring big news for Dragon Ball games such as Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle, that's a mobile game, Dragon Ball Legends is also a mobile game, and Dragon Ball Super Divers. And maybe another collaboration that is already in the news section may be talked about more. Who knows? But yeah, there is that. No word on when we're getting this here in the States, but probably shortly thereafter and probably on Crunchyroll. Just a guess. Next up.
Toei Animation celebrates the 25th anniversary of Digimon Animation with a special trailer exclusively premiering over at IGN. The special trailer shows each Digimon from Digimon Adventure meeting their Digi-destined, something never depicted in the anime except for So,
well, I guess
yeah, so this is an exclusive 25th anniversary special trailer.
Right. I must say, I don't know if that's actually true because I feel like in the show they all did meet, but maybe something, something
got me.
Yeah, I remember it enough to say that I feel like they did. But regardless, yeah, this is a thing. Digimon's 25 and old. Next up, Kaiju number 8 season 2 anime confirmed for 2025 release. You can watch the first season now, of course. So it looks like
You watched it yet?
I still haven't yet watched it. No,
you should. It's fun.
Yeah, I will at some point. Let's see. So it was previously announced sequel. It's the second season scheduled to release in 2025. Looks like the date might be, well, wait a minute. A film compilation of scenes from season 1 and a special episode titled Hoshina's Day Off will be shown in Japanese theaters sometime next year, and a live event with the animator's voice actors will be held at Kanai Hall on June 1st, 2025. So we don't necessarily get a date for when the second season is going to happen outside of 2025, but it's more likely it's going to be after June 1st, 2025. Next up.
One second.
This is perfect that you got this one.
So, Haikyuu has turned volleyball into an Olympic hit. New data seems to give evidence of. So, according to a recent poll that was broken down by Mainichi as the publication covered volleyball surge at the Olympics, it was there that the site learned that about 25,000 people who were polled about the Olympics across 33 nations earlier this year, when they were asked what they saw, what they were looking for at the Paris Olympics, Gen Z apparently saw its biggest answer turn to volleyball. Millennials said track and field were their pick, and the same went for the baby boomers. Yo, what up with Gen X? But anyway, why does Gen Z care so much about volleyball at the Olympics? Well, Mainichi did some on-ground exploration. It turns out plenty of fans at the Paris Olympics were there because of Haikyuu. Not only did the anime trend whenever Team Japan took the court, but Haikyuu was also pushed forward a love of teams outside of Japan, from Italy to Brazil. Haikyuu put volleyball center stage, and it converted fans in real life. Now, the same fans have cashed in for tickets to the Olympics, and some have even cosplayed as Haikyuu characters in the stands.
That dude right there, if you're watching the video version, that dude right there, he's one of them.
So I was a fan of volleyball before Q, but I mean, I played it before.
But this didn't hurt.
But I chuckle at this because at Open Play this past week, there were not one but two people cosplaying as Haikyuu characters while playing.
Of course, because of course.
And I turned to some of my fellow players who we all have watched Haikyuu. We're all like almost universally are fans. You know, a lot of us have bought the Uniqlo t-shirts that came out recently and have worn them to play. But it's been a while since we've seen anyone actually wear like a cosplay, like stuff you can get on Amazon or on OK Cosplay, and wear that to play.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, no, this past Sunday, that was pretty wild. We saw two separate ones. I was like, yikes. But it was cool. You know, we didn't make fun of them. We were just like, all right.
Well, of course. Why would you make fun of them? Why would you?
Right. We're just trying to play. But anyway, you know what's funny about this is that my buddy Malcolm, who's on my anime advisory committee, literally texted me something about this today because he found himself, of all things, watching the U.S. women's semifinal match against Brazil at home. He texted it to me while I was in a meeting, and I was late to the match. You know, I was obviously at work in the office, so I needed to stream it. And but I laughed and I texted him. I said, well, you know, it's because I got him into watching Haikyuu. So, you know, it's funny that this article is literally bearing out some more evidence of what I discovered today.
Not to sound, I guess, for lack of a better word, kind of a perv, but let's face it, it's going to sound like that anyway. There were historically, other reasons to watch women's volleyball.
Oh, of course. Well, beach volleyball specific.
Exactly. Previous to the Haikyuu hype. So
yeah, but this is indoors, so yeah, it's a little different.
Just saying.
Yeah. Yeah, indoors is a little different, but yeah, I get it.
But also, as I brought up to Agent 70 before the show, breakdancing is coming, the day after the show records. In fact, we have passed the midnight point at this point. So, sometime today, breakdancing is going to be a thing in the Olympics starting. Just saying. Battle, get your cardboard out, folks. Maybe you can be an Olympic athlete.
Right. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe at least one of the OG Jabberwockies is on the U.S. like breakdancing coaching team or something, like one of the coaches.
I believe that's you're right.
Yeah, so it's all interesting how this all, has taken several steps to get to this point.
Yeah, I need to see what that is, how that happens. So I'm looking forward to seeing that in I guess a few hours, because it's probably already going on.
Right.
Or about to at some point. Anyway, back to the news. Crunchyroll heads to Anime NYC. We were actually talking about this before the show, with a special Shangri-La Frontier panel and premieres. So Friday, August the 23rd, that is the start of 23rd to the 25th at the Javits Center, is Anime NYC 2024.
I will be in attendance on Saturday.
Yes. And this article from Crunchyroll has what Crunchyroll, at the very least, is getting up to at that show, including there is going to be a panel on for a couple of things on Saturday. But that's the only thing on Saturday, and looks like they're doing a couple of things on that Friday night. And I guess they're just going to be there for the rest of the whole time, as they tend to do during these things. So, if you see some of the Crunchyroll crew, be nice, I guess. I don't know. If you see it making this Saturday, I'm sorry, you probably won't.
Oh, no.
But, yeah, so that's the thing. I'm not sure what Shangri-La Frontier is, but I'm sure we'll hear more about it. Or you could just go Google it. Next up.
All right, Toei Animation, the famous Japanese animation studio behind the Dragon Ball anime franchise, is about to launch an ambitious video game collaboration project for its most ambitious animated movie, the upcoming CGI animated film Hypergalactic, anyway, will soon appear in popular video games like Roblox and Fortnite. Okay, so Hypergalactic follows a teenage girl and her younger brother as they search for their missing parents in the not-too-distant future of Earth. Their seemingly hopeless quest leads them to awaken a forgotten protector of Earth, a monkey man hero who takes visual inspiration from the Monkey King from Journey to the West. Okay.
Doesn't sound familiar.
Right. Exactly. And so the film Hypergalactic now will have official Roblox and Fortnite collaborations. Wow.
Yep. This is where we are, folks. And if you're watching the video version, you can see said Monkey King. That is not the person you'd think it would be. Or at least a version of the...
Right, it's not the DC version.
Well, that either. But yes, I'm actually surprised that it hasn't... Well, actually, there are DC characters in Fortnite, now that I think about it. So I wouldn't be surprised if that character is in there or not. All right, now we get over into some comic book news. So we alluded to this last week at the end of the show, and it was brought up by our friend of the show, Von Gloom. Colin Kaepernick's AI-based comic book company angers comic creators, and boy, did it. So if you don't know who Colin Kaepernick is at this point, I don't know where you've been, but former NFL quarterback. And then became a civil rights activist, which he was doing some activism, so I don't know why I'm doing air quotes. But he has raised $4 billion to launch a new publishing venture called Lumi that aims to, quote, democratize storytelling by providing creators with the tools to independently create, publish, and merchandise their stories. Which, as this article says, sounds great, right? But Lumi leverages advanced AI technology to enhance the creative process and ensure diverse and authentic stories that shape our future. And therein lies the rub and the problem.
Right.
Because, one, this is a comics medium. Don't need that. That's why we got writers. That's why we got artists. And they've been doing pretty good all this time. This is this is basically fucking them.
Yes.
At the point. As a matter of fact, from what I saw on Twitter, folks like Kari Randolph and other creators had talked to him before or around this time, and from what I gather, he is aware of what some creators think, and apparently is still doing this. So therefore, he is just intentionally not getting it, or he is getting it and just don't care. One of the two. So, and yes, as Von Gloom says, AI art is theft. Well, yeah, AI writing is also theft.
All right.
So, yeah, this is not good, and I hope this doesn't happen. And it's sad that this dude is aligned with that. But I guess, hey, can't keep everything, all good and noble, I guess.
Right.
So,
very disappointed to read this.
It very much is disappointing. So, like I said, hope it doesn't happen. Next up. This came out this week.
This book was out, right? This book was out this week. The Power Fantasy #1 by Kieron Gillen and Casper Wijngaard sells out. Image Comics is rushing out a second printing. Okay, we did not read this. I didn't get a chance to do it. I had a very limited window, although I definitely should have added it because it is a #1 issue.
Yeah, I didn't either. So,
right. So yeah, I mean that's that's it's a big deal apparently.
Yeah, I mean I haven't seen too many people talking about it, but Gillen stuff sells. So people really like his stuff. So I'm not surprised. I mean, even starting from Wicked and Divine, so it's not that big of a surprise.
Right. So very quickly, Image describes the Power Fantasy as a, quote, a daringly uncompromising new superhero epic that offers an edge of your seat read in which every character is a nuclear weapon on the brink of detonation and the entire planet is on high alert. Set in an era of nuclear superpowers and alternate reality 1966, the new comic is intense yet understated and gripping. Okay.
Yeah. We have a copy, so we might check this out. Whether we talk about it next week or one way or another, but yeah, it doesn't do. Going back a quick second to that last article, Von Gloom brings up the point that I forgot to mention. Kaepernick feels that they are gatekeeping, which I'm seeing here like that's not. I don't think you know what gatekeeping is if you.
Yeah, that's not exactly true.
Now there is some gatekeeping going on in comics.
Right, but not in the sense that you kind of need to have some skill to do some of this stuff.
Right. So that's a stupid notion to go on. But also, Von Gloom says that he could have started a fund and helped out fledgling writers and artists. Yeah, could have done that.
Yeah. There's some tweets and some social media posts in that article from other artists and creators, and I can't remember who wrote it, but basically, the critique was that the money raised, the $4 million raised by Kaepernick is going into the wrong hands, not into tech bro hands, as opposed to he could have funded so many independent comics with with whomever, people of color or women comics, with those people at the creative helm.
So much better stuff could have been done with that money than that, but this is what he chose. All right. So yeah, but Power Fantasy, that's out. Maybe we'll talk about it next week, but I don't think so. But I mean, unless it's pressing enough, we'll come back around to it. But the Justice League officially debuts new costumes, including surprise upgrades. Spoiler alert for Absolute Power #2, I believe. This is coming from. So yeah, they got new suits and which in the case of Batman is not different because he always comes with some wonderful toys. Which I'm glad there was a reference to him having toys in Batman Crusader that I had a chuckle on. But anyway, so Superman and Batman create new suits. Let's see who got them: Wonder Woman, Batman, Flash, and Aquaman. Debut powerful new suits, with upgrades. Again, a new suit for Batman is not that different from him just having another suit, so that's not really. You can left that part out, but if you're watching the video version, you can see a an image from also Absolute Power #2 with some of the suits. So there you go. Probably soon to be figures also, but we'll see if that should happen. And I think some of the stuff has been in like previews anyway, so it's not like it's that much of a spoiler. But we've seen like concept sheets. So next up.
Something that I definitely danced around. Absolute
Okay.
Power drops a major Green Arrow twist, and there's more to Green Arrow than meets the eye in Absolute Power #2, and that's basically the cliffhanger panel at the end of the issue. I don't want to talk much more about it because this book came out this week.
Right. But also, which probably has nothing to do with that, but you can't say more than meets the eye without that. Savage Wolverine Infinity Comics series roars onto Marvel Unlimited. So, which I think I saw this. It is an 8-part Infinity comic written by Tom Bloom, creator of Kill 6 Billion Demons, and drawn by Dev Malaya Pramanik. My apologies if I butchered that name, from Vengeance of the Moonlight, and Guillermo Sana from X-Men Unlimited, and colored by Hava Tatarklia. The first 2 chapters of the Infinity comic series are out now, and we'll continue with new chapters each week. Again, it's an 8-parter, so, and it seems to be set in an era after the fall of Krakoa. See, the mutant nation's sins have come back to haunt all mutant kind, and that's pretty much where I will start and stop and end. Because I feel like if that's not enough to get you interested in that, and you have Marvel Unlimited, hey, I don't know what to tell you. Next up,
Dr. Doom's pop culture domination continues with new Doom variant covers. I love it. This is definitely a Marvel article. Mm-hmm. So, 21 all new art pieces of Doom defeating Marvel's greatest heroes will adorn select Marvel issues throughout October. So it's Halloween month. Okay.
And there was a stop. I hate when Marvel articles do that. But if you watch the video version, you saw a couple of the variants flashing by.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's running line wide, and oh right, I forgot X-Factor was coming back. I keep forgetting about that. So yeah, so pretty sure a book you're probably reading is going to have a Doom cover.
Right.
All praise to New Sorcerer Supreme. Toy news. Marvel Legends Series 85th Anniversary Target. We talked about this before the show also. Warbird is back in stock at Target, but as Agent 70 has noted, it sells out kind of quick.
Right. It's been, I've been getting alerts like this over the last couple of days, and every time I try to pop on the Target app, no luck. No joy, as it were.
Right. And if you don't know who Warbird is, I don't know what to tell you on that, but it's Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, but her previous code name, after Miss Marvel, but before Captain Marvel. There you go. Because she's had a few, and it is the classic bikini and sash combination, which I would say we know and love, but I don't know. I saw a version of this with bigger boobs. I'm like, why would somebody take Photoshop to this? That's crazy. But anyway, next up.
Marvel Legends of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse figures are on sale now. So the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse wave includes 7 figures. So if you did not catch a couple figures the first time, like Miles and Gwen, you can catch them now in different versions. Slightly updated. You get a Spidey 2099. You get Peter B. Parker. You do get Spider-Man India, Spider-Punk without the costume, and you also get Miles Morales Prowler. Spoiler alert.
Such as it is for a 2-year-old movie, I guess.
Right. So pre-order started today. They went live today.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Next up, Marvel Snap calls the Young Avengers for August 2024 season. So yeah, they also added alliances, guilds, clans, whatever you want to call them. So you and a bunch of folks can not group up and do this, but be in a group and talk and chat and do bounties in the game. So let's see, we got Kate Bishop, Wiccan, Speed, Marvel Boy, and Hulkling cards also coming, which I think a couple of them might have already been in already. But and yeah, that's it. Next up,
Former Marvel manager disputes extreme budget claims about Deadpool game. So, a former manager from Marvel who worked on the 2013 Deadpool game by High Moon Studios and Activision recently disputed a rumor about the game's budget, which claimed the game cost $100 million to produce and develop. So lots of gamers have been revisiting that 2013 game since the premiere of Deadpool and Wolverine.
why?
I don't know. So let's see. He said he wanted to. So he took to Twitter to ask fans and other journalists to squash the rumor of Deadpool supposedly costing $100 million to produce. That's the video game. Let's see. That's GTA level money, Grand Theft Auto level money. And it was made on a much smaller budget in comparison and probably reflected that.
Oh, this is Chris Baker. Okay. No, is this Chris Baker? Yes, it is Chris Baker.
Yeah, it is Baker.
So long time, in video game space before you came into development and working with Marvel stuff. So yeah, apparently there was that rumor that this was $100 million. If you played that game, you wouldn't think as much. Like video games cost a lot of money, so it's not outside the realm of possibility, but not that game. I remember playing that game a few years ago, and I'm not gonna say it's a bad game, but it's not a great game. It's an amusing game in spots for certain, but it kind of wears thin very quickly. I wish I could. Well, I could point you to where there was some gameplay for it, but there's a lot of it, and I think you might be able to still find that on Steam. I'm not sure because that has gone on and off of Steam at various points. But Nika announces. Is it Nika or NECA? I've never been quite sure whether
I think it's NECA.
Is it? Yeah.
I think it's NECA.
Okay. Announces classic Universal Monsters action figures based on 1990s Burger King toys. So yes, this is the Universal Monsters, your Draculas, your Frankensteins, your Wolfmans, your I was about to call him Swamp Thing, but that's not his name. the creature from the Black Lagoon. So they are 7-inch scale figures. And apparently there is the 4-pack for $150, and that will ship in October. I don't remember ever seeing these at Burger King, but then again, it is the 90s, so I was busy. So I don't remember Burger. I remember Burger King having toys, but I don't remember we had the glasses, we had the Star Wars glasses and stuff like that. And little cheap shit like that. Not these. Not stuff like this.
I mean, this is a little bit fancy.
Yeah, a little bit.
These are fancied up a little bit.
Right. So yeah, I'm sure the original ones were definitely not this right. Specified. So, but yeah, they're scrolling.
I mean, it said that they quote unquote faithfully recreate them. So right. I just don't remember them looking like this.
I don't remember them at all. So you'd be doing if you remember them at all, you'd be doing better than me. But yeah, that's the thing. It's out there. NECA doing their thing. Next up.
Get the silly one. The Popcorn Bucket Wars did not end with Deadpool and Wolverine, as Beetlejuice 2 unveils its own ghoulish take on 2024's biggest cinema trend. Oy. So you get a sandworm collectible. This is not Dune, though, folks.
Yeah,
but it is. This was unveiled by Regal Movies. The Beetlejuice 2 Popcorn Bucket features the franchise's iconic two-headed black and white striped sandworm that appears both in the original movie and the sequel. Okay. You can take a look at it as Roddykat shows it. That's an interesting looking popcorn bucket.
Yes. I also want some popcorn now. It's weird. I have a popcorn maker that does near movie theater popcorn, but sometimes you still just want from the movie theater popcorn. It's just weird. But yeah, if you're watching a video version, you can see the bucket in itself, in its glory. Next up, new Ghostbusters merch arrives in store at, you guessed it, Spirit Halloween.
Of course.
Yeah. So what is the stuff? You got a patch set, I guess, and this is based off, I guess it should be noted, it is based off of the last Ghostbusters movie, so Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, which I still haven't seen. You got patches for the main characters there. You got a hat. You got, what is that, a keychain? Yep, keychains. And of course, you got for the little kiddies costumes. Yeah, I think, yeah. And I guess there's, and there's the Terror Dog, which you can put out near your lawn, which we might have actually talked about that previously, but that's a thing. Next up, you
want to take these last two?
Sure, I'll do that. Wasn't there supposed to be a revamped MonsterVerse movies? Yeah, they've already been, those have already been kind of coming out, but that's been kind of, that whole thing's been kind of in a state. That Tom Cruise mummy thing, I don't think it's ever going to happen. But yeah, they tried, and they're still saying that that's supposed to still be a thing, but we haven't seen anything for it. All right, last couple we got are from the Transformers, and I think both of these were Japanese Transformers, actually. So Takara Tomy has listed another round of pre-orders for their release of Transformers Legacy for the Japanese market. One of these days I'll have my Masterpiece Soundwave up for display behind me, hopefully. Which you probably still wouldn't see because I have a green screen up. But still, so yeah, we got Galvatron, Heater and Tip Top, Optimus Prime, G1, and Soundwave. And the next one is just some more off that line, which we got a Generation Selects 5-pack, which includes, we may have actually talked about this before now that I think about it, but a set of 5 Autobots, including the longer-awaited Hound figure, Jazz, Sunstreaker, Trailblazer, and Wheeljack for 22,000 yen, $150 US, and it's expected to ship January 2025. We might not have had the date for it, but we might have actually talked about these before. So, and you can see the figures right there, which honestly, I would probably get at least 2 of these figures, 3 of these figures actually. I like all these characters.
Nice set.
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. It's a nice set. Like if you want to get that Hound and the Jazz, you might as well just get the other 3. You get a Wheeljack to boot. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Like the Hound and the Jazz would be the ones, and the Wheeljack, like you said, those would be one. Like I'm surprised they didn't put a Sideswipe as opposed to Trailbreaker, but get the twins. You might as well, right?
Right.
But hey, Trailbreaker's as good as anything. So I'm pretty sure this is probably not the only set they're going to do. So, but yeah, that's cool stuff. And that, folks, is ends the news section. Can we get one last ad read?
All right, our last ad read of the night. You know what it is when we've been at this for a little while. Keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit cspn.us, then click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment. It helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through cspn.us. Do it today.
Ooh, yeah, definitely time to go now. There we go. All right, folks. This has been a show, and we're still coming down off of San Diego givings because the news has started to dry up some. So, hence why we got some of the stuff that we got. Silly or not, some of it was fun. I don't think we have anything show-wise next week. Yes, because I don't think we have anything until next month. And now that I think about it, or even then, because I think Agatha comes out next month, and we don't have
Yeah, I
anything.
mean, we could
until
talk more about Cape Crusader, as
maybe.
it wraps.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Raptors and it's already, but I know what you're saying. But yeah,
As Roddykat wraps his watch.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know if there's anything else more to say, to be honest. Because
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably just chit chat about maybe Umbrella Academy. I tried watching the first episode and I was completely lost.
Mm.
You know,
Did you catch up videos on
I think Rings of Power comes out at the end of the month.
Does it?
I think so.
Ooh, okay, that'll be something. Yeah. And once again, don't know what the hell. Remember what the hell happened to that?
Same.
So yeah, look out for those catch-up videos for those joints, because I'm sure they will happen prior to. And with that, folks, I have been Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at NewsNoseNeed on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Agent_70 on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. You can find this here podcast on the Coastal Slither Podcast Network, that's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast place of choice, whether it be Apple iTunes, like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal Slither Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and leave us all the positive 5-star reviews, especially on Apple Podcasts, because that helps people find our show.
Yes. Man, I want some tacos. You can also find us recording mostly every Thursday night, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, sometimes a little later, most times a little later, on the YouTube channel of the Kliq Nation. That's youtube.com/the Kliq Nation, and twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Make sure to click like, subscribe, and hit that notification button so you know when we're on live and broadcasting.
I want to play some Marvel Suns, Midnight Suns, but I feel like it might be starting to get too late because of Blood Hunt has already ended. Kind of want to play some Final Fight also, because that book came out last week. But we'll see what happens, because there will be stuff played on that. Later days, and stay geeky to you too, Von Kloom. What else was I gonna say?
Same.
Yeah, might be some show and tell next week if my stuff comes in on time, or before the show, which it probably will. And Agent 70 may or may not have something, because he's always getting something.
No.
It happens. But until then, folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace, one.
And knowing is half the battle.